All right.
Recording started.
Okay, excellent. I've got audio this time. Definitely a good start. Welcome to Free Association, Technocratic Tyranny Blues, whatever you want to call it, whatever I want to call it. I call it all sorts of things. But today, I wanted to talk a little bit about the last couple of days' worth of shows on the podcast. I've been doing shows about the mob in the United States. So Meyer Lansky, and I've forgotten the other one. We go Lucky Luciano, and there was another one that I've forgotten. It'll come back to me. But the point is, it's Jewish, Italian, and Irish gangsters primarily. Who was the second one? Bugsy Siegel. Bugsy Siegel, that's the guy. So New York gangsters moved to Los Angeles, then to Las Vegas. They also moved to Miami. It's a connection from Chicago to Bugsy Siegel's mistress, Veronica Hill, if I remember rightly. So the Chicago mobsters and the New York mobsters all kind of connected via Veronica Hill and Bugsy Siegel, and other places as well, but that's the obvious place to start looking. So what I'm trying to do is put together a mind map or some kind of diagram that will link all of these relationships together at some point. At the moment, I'm basically just watching old documentaries. I posted a couple. I posted a podcast on Meyer Lansky and on Bugsy Siegel. The one I did last night on Lucky Luciano, I shared the screen, and I might post that on BitChute. I'm not sure yet. It's a bit pointless posting a shared screen from BitChute back onto BitChute, but it might work. It depends. It depends how I feel, and I don't want to infringe anybody's copyright unnecessarily. But this is all for educational purposes, obviously, and you've got to share the whole show, otherwise you miss the narrative of it. You can't tell the story without telling the story, really. So if and when I post it, it'll be the whole show. I might interrupt and comment here and there, but if I do 10-minute sections and comment, that kind of works. But last night I didn't post the radio show last night, the Lucky Luciano one, because I was playing music as well. So it was a good show, but I want to take the music out and then post it. So it might take me a couple of days before I get round to editing that. And I think I'm going to be back at Rebels on Roundabouts tomorrow afternoon. So I did a show this afternoon, and I'll do a show again tomorrow afternoon, and then go to Rebels on Roundabouts. The show this evening, I'll make a combination of old documentary footage and music, and then again I'll take the music out before I post it on the podcast. But that seems to be the best way to work these things for me. When I do the live show, I want to play music as well, but I can't post the music to the podcast. So the best way of getting the whole kind of effect of this is to listen live, which is on Podbean. I did the show last night at about 8 o'clock till 9 or half 7, I think it was, or through till 9, and that's a good time for me. I go up to the People's Kitchen, get something to eat about 6:30, hang around maybe for 45 minutes or an hour up there, talking to the people up there with a cup of coffee. Then I come back and do the radio show through till 9 o'clock. And I went for a beer last night, so I was out till about 1. But I'm not always going to do that. But the 7:30 start for me is better than the old 10 o'clock start, because I couldn't go for a beer. It was limiting what I could do on the evening. Whereas now I can, they're pop-up shows anyway, but if I feel like I've made a commitment, then I've made a commitment, and I don't want to start limiting what I can do on an evening too much. So the afternoon shows I've made a commitment to now. They'll definitely happen. The evening shows are pop-up shows, so they happen as and when. So it gives me a bit more freedom to do what I need to do. It turns out there's a couple of activist groups that I might be able to get to that are evening groups, and I'd like to try and get there fairly regularly. But obviously it's I don't drive, so I'm relying on people to give me lifts. And some of these groups are in people's houses, so you have to know people to be invited in. So you have to be regular on the other public groups to be known to be invited to the private groups. That's kind of how it works. But there seems to be a lot of activity still. There's the bigger groups, the more public groups. There's a demonstration on Saturday at the BBC at 1:00, which I may get to. I do my radio show at 4, so I can potentially go up there for an hour, hang around, have a few conversations with people. I might take the recording gadget that I've got up there with me and record some pieces that I can maybe use. They won't be on Saturday's show, but on the following Saturday show, maybe. Don't know yet. I haven't done that up to now. It's something that I was thinking about last year and I never quite did. But it seems more likely that it's going to happen this year because I'm more chilled out about pretty much everything now than I was last year. So yes, it's a crisis. Yes, it's potentially a spiritual war. Yes, there's a lot of bad things happening, but I'm much more confident in my ability to ride this out without too much damage now, which I wasn't sure about last year, but now I am pretty sure about that. I can ride it out, and I can get by. I might have to draw my pension early, but I can get by. There's enough sitting there that it'll carry me through the next 5 years at least, and then it takes the pressure off looking for work a little bit. I've still got to find a job. I need some kind of income, but if I can figure out a way to run some events or run some psychic fairs or something like that, then there's potential for it. There's potential there for making things happen in a positive way for everybody. So giving people kind of problem solving. There's a problem solving thing going on in my head at the moment. So that's what I'm looking for, is groups that help me solve problems. One of those problems is my finances. And if anybody's got any suggestions or can offer me a part-time job or anything like that, feel free to leave a comment, because I'm open to it pretty much everything at the moment. I've got internet access at home now, so I'm looking for something part-time from home that'll produce a decent amount of income. My past experience is in telemarketing, so I can do a little bit of sales. There's a radio show there looking for a sponsor as well. So if anybody wants to sponsor the radio shows, you can sponsor Technocratic Tyranny Blues and do that live, or you can sponsor the one that goes on the podcast. And there's a recorded version of that. It goes out on Spotify and Google Podcasts and Pandora and Amazon Music and all over the place. So there's a couple of hundred people following me. So there's a couple of hundred people get announcements when I go live. So it's not huge, but it's the right 200 people for somebody. So anyway, if you're interested, if you can sponsor a podcast, keep me in coffee and baked beans or whatever, beans on toast, then that would be a good thing. I've got to still sort out bills and food and all that while I'm doing the other stuff that I do. So they have to be paid for the time being. All right, that's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to say. I'm just rambling now. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you a little bit later on.